I'm Battalion Chief Steve Leonard with the Owensboro Fire Department. We respond to dozens of cooking-related fires every year. The #1 reason for cooking-related fires is unattended cooking. Make sure that you're in the kitchen near the stove when you're cooking something on the range top. If you've got something in the oven, you don't have to be there in the kitchen the entire time, but do not leave home. Many people have put something in the oven to bake for a couple of hours and gone shopping. You're courting disaster when you do that. So if you're cooking on top of the stove, you need to be in the kitchen and give that your full attention. And oh, by the way, make sure you keep the kids away from the stove while you're cooking. Keep the pot handles turned inside, make sure they stay away. We often get a lot of questions about different pieces of apparatus we have and how they function and how they work and how we use them on the fire ground. I'm on the turntable of ladder 1. This is a 100-foot aerial with a bucket on the end. It's one of our newer pieces of apparatus, and we get a lot of questions about the ladder trucks. And the biggest one is, if I had a fire in a high-rise and I'm stuck in a building that's very tall, would this ladder truck be able to reach me and get me out of that situation? Well, first of all, you have to understand how we fight fire in high-rise buildings. Most ladder trucks function very well at a height of about 5 to 10 stories. Anything above that, you're not going to have many ladder trucks that are going to have that ability to reach that height. If you look at buildings in New York City and Chicago that are 50 stories or 100 stories, you can't expect to be waiting at a window for a firefighter to ladder a 50-story building and rescue from that. What we have is what we call interior firefighting and interior rescue. So again, ladder trucks are designed to function very well at about 10 stories or less. Anything above that, and the fire code comes into play. If you look at high-rise buildings, they have interior stairwells that are what we call rated stairwells. They're very thick walls with steel doors and closures on them, and that's actually an interior fire escape. Some of you are familiar with exterior fire escapes in some of the older areas of the city and some larger cities. The fire code now requires fire escapes to be made inside of the building, and they're protected stairwells. Several of our high-rises are built just like that, so that if you make it to the stairwell, you are in a protected area. As a matter of fact, we do our firefighting and setup in those stairwells and the floors below that fire. So when you look at a high-rise building, and if you live in one, and if you frequent one, conduct business in one, be familiar with the layout of the building on the inside. And if you travel on vacation or you go to larger cities where you have 50 and 100-story buildings, be very familiar with where the stairwells are. The fire code requires many stairwells in a short distance so that you can get to them very easily. Once you get into that stairwell, again, it's a 4-hour rated stairwell, and it's protected so that you have the ability to get down, and our firefighters have the ability to get up to you. So no, ladder trucks do not reach the top of every building. In Owensboro, especially our downtown district, our ladder trucks very easily reach the hotels and reach the older buildings downtown. We have a few high-rises that our ladder trucks are not going to reach the top of, or some larger buildings that are not high-rises that have a setback from the road far enough that the ladder trucks would not reach them. We have to go with different strategy and tactics at that point. And again, most of our buildings that are especially newer buildings are designed so that you're very safe inside those buildings with sprinkler systems, alarm systems, and so forth. The key with the alarm systems is that you not ignore that alarm when it goes off, especially if you're in a high-rise, regardless of where that's at. You need to pay attention to the alarm, and when it goes off, you need to make your way to a stairwell where you're safe and can start traveling down if you need to. Now, be familiar with the type of policy in your particular high-rise. Some new high-rises have what they call a shelter in place. For example, if you had a 60-story building and you had an apartment fire on the 10th floor, they would not evacuate the entire building. They may evacuate that floor that's on fire or the apartment fire floor and the fire above it and below it, but not the entire building. Be familiar with what your policy is in your building. Now, if there is no policy, when the alarm goes off, you should start your evacuation. Don't waste that time.